This is Mr. Jones. The Art of Fighting. An introductory into violence. Just about everything on this planet, when you're a human being, has to do with the mind first. There are a lot of athletic people or people who are perhaps physically strong. But what separates someone who's athletic and what separates someone who's just truly dangerous, who's a great fighter? Here's the thing. When learning to defend yourself, and in my case, it's much more than defending yourself. I'm in a place of dominance, of conquering. But let's start from the basics. It's all about self-mastery, and it's all about the mind. Having a physically fit body and a trained body, that's a given. But how about changing the way we look at violence and we look at fighting? When you are in an altercation, are you mentally and emotionally prepared for the changes that inevitably will happen to you when, even before being attacked, feeling the energy of aggression? Now this is if you're not just outright attacked, didn't even see it coming, because that happens as well. The nature of violence is volatile, and it can happen in an instant. But in a lot of cases you can see it coming and you can prevent it from happening, but there is a response, a lightness that your body may start to feel. Fear perhaps will run down your body. You may start to get a little bit shaky. What's going on here is your body is actually amping itself up and preparing you to be able to fight. Your adrenaline starts to pump, all of that. Now, you may mistake this for weakness. It's not weakness, and rest assured that unless the individual is a complete fool, arrogant fool, or they've studied and watched you enough to know that they can take you, for sure, they're probably going to have some kind of similar response, even though they're attacking you. And they're going to be looking to you to show signs of weakness, to show signs of fear. They're looking at you to gauge whether or not they can overcome you. Now, it has been said, and I know this to be true, that the fight is won before the first blow. And this is true. Even if you watch the body language of people who fight, usually the loser really gives away the fight. He really defeats himself because he hasn't mastered himself. People who start fights are usually weak because why would you start a fight? You're trying to prove something to someone else and definitely to yourself, and that stems from weakness. Now I'm generalizing, of course. There are some people who are predatory, and I will admit, when I was younger, I never started fights, but I allowed situations, and I put myself in situations where I knew fights would occur so I could try out my martial arts skills. It was fun and exciting, and I enjoyed it. But I've grown wiser since then. How you think about a fight, how you think about an opponent is very important. Are you understanding that the true essence of fighting has really very little to do with their physical body and your physical body? when you're looking at fighting, you must go beyond the scope of blows and understand the psychological part of fighting. Also understand your area. If someone attacks me in an open space, and let's say they're really big, let's say they're 300 pounds, okay, I've taken out two individuals who are 380 pounds plus. If you're in an open space, the likelihood of them being, if you're an average size guy, the likelihood of a 300-pound guy being as fast as you, it's not very likely that they're as fast as you. And if you are a competent fighter, you can use the space to your advantage. So I would train and develop stamina. That would be a good idea. And develop moving in a space and being able to keep your stamina in this space and being able to move swiftly and quickly. Don't engage the opponent in his game, but in a real fight, dictate the pace, go in, go out, go in, go out, and understand it doesn't matter if someone's 400 pounds or if they're 200 pounds or if they're 160 pounds. They have kneecaps, they have a throat, they have ears, they have eyes, they have a groin, and also in an open space you can pick up weapons. You can pick up things and go in and go out. And if someone is much bigger than you and slower than you and you have space, well, they're at your mercy. So you've got to realize if someone's bigger than you and you are quick and you are in an open space and there are things around you can pick up, that person is actually in your mercy. Their life is in your hands. In my experience, larger opponents are easier to defeat in real life. Those who are wiry, chiseled abs like myself, and just tight muscle, those guys are usually harder to fight. Because we're fast and strong, and a lot of times smart, and a lot of times the smaller you are, you've been in more fights, you have more experience. The guys who are larger haven't been in that many fights, they don't have as much experience, they haven't been challenged as much because of their size. Any sign of being out of shape for a man who is 200 pounds or plus is definitely a dead giveaway of weakness, and it's a good idea to exploit that. Also watch the way people walk. Are they weak in one leg? Is there one of their knees buckling? If their feet spread out and they're not straight, that means they more than likely don't have that much body awareness. If they're not standing completely straight, if maybe one shoulder is higher, if they sort of walk with their front torso stuck out and their butts sticking out with their feet out, these individuals aren't very aware physically, and they're easy to outmaneuver. If you're dealing with a larger opponent, go for his neck, especially if there's open space. Pick up dirt, throw it in his eyes, and go for his neck right away and choke him out. Practice choking, creating a death grip, so as soon as you get around his neck, you're not letting go until his body stops moving. Now, I'm not getting into any specific techniques. This is just an introductory into violence. Understanding the nature of violence, understanding why it's important to harden your body, to sharpen your awareness, and to hone your skills. Being able to punch as hard as possible, right? It's a good idea in a real fight to actually attack like this. Instead of messing up your knuckles, attack like this. Very powerful in a real fight. Being able to strike with devastating efficiency, and I will talk more about what creates powerful punches, because lifting weights and even there are people who debate whether or not lifting weights will help you in your martial arts, and the truth is it can, and it does, only if you do it in a specific way, which I will talk about in my official program. But being able to strike, having undying stamina. Stamina is incredibly important. If you have stamina, you can perform your techniques without fatigue, and you can outlast your opponent, outthink your opponent, outmaneuver your opponent. Speed, devastating speed, devastating quickness. And one of the ways to strike correctly is by using proper technique. Striking in a relaxed manner, only tightening up on the point of impact. And accuracy. These are some of the things that really give you knockout power. It's not what you think it is. This is the reason why very small men can have such great force when it comes to knocking someone the fuck out. Also, the idea of disrupting the flow. Just because someone's punching at you doesn't mean you have to punch back. You can learn to disrupt their flow and use their punches to attack them. Now I'm not going to go into any techniques. This is just an introductory into violence. But the disruption technique's very powerful. And instead of getting into a fisticuffs with a person, you can quickly neutralize the situation, break a few of their limbs, and go about your day. And I'm going to be honest with you, you can beat the shit out of people and be fine and not have to deal with any police. And I'll talk more about how you can do that and why that works and the psychology behind that. But not in this. This is just the introductory version of violence, and this information, this deadly video on martial arts. It's not Dragon Chi, but is very effective. Is not going to just be easy to get. It's going to be expensive. One reason, obviously, is because it's amazing information, but another reason is because to make it harder for people to get. You're only going to get this kind of information if you're serious, if you actually feel like you need it in your life. I want to keep as much of the good stuff to myself as possible, but I'm going to obviously tell you some things that are really great and effective in real life. And you know, it's stuff like this that, you know, there's a level of power in this, and I'm not just going to give it away to anybody. So understanding the very nature of violence, the feel for violence. Not everyone has the stomach for it. You've got to like being punched. Now, I'm not advocating getting hit in a real fight. You want to take as little damage as possible, but there has to be a sort of a warlike aspect to you to be able to really nurture the essence of violence. Because when it comes upon you, this separates the men from the mice. You know what you're made of. The people who are yelling, the guys with the big tattoos, talking all that crap, they're not violent. They don't know anything about violence. They're hoping nothing happens. Someone like me, or someone who's very dangerous, we get very, very quiet because we're hoping that you engage us in violence, but we're not going to start it. And we really want to be in an isolated area because we want to have our time with you. You know, it's just like with a girl. If you want to have sex with a girl, you want to get her alone so you can fuck her. The same with enjoying a good beatdown. You don't want to advertise your aggression. You don't want to let other people know you are going to hurt somebody. You're just quiet because you want as much space as possible to enjoy your conquering of this enemy of yours.